Hey everyone, Ashley, May, and Nicole, Russo here, looking at the Friday daily racing form race of the day. It's race number 9 at Keeneland. It's not often we see a grade 1 on a Friday, Nicole, but that hopefully will be the case, weather depending, with the Ashland Kentucky Oaks points here on the line for the 3-year-old fillies going a mile and a 16th. We'll look at the slate here. It's a field of 8, but it's a pretty deep field when you start to look at Mahima in here. Lakara, very impressive winner of the Suncoast. Super Speed, who tried the dirt last time out and was a pretty game second. And then some others, Take Charge Mailloux, who had to actually regroup to this spot.
Yeah, I think of the 3 Kentucky Oaks preps this weekend, this is the deepest overall field. You've got fillies in here. You mentioned Lakara and Mahima, who are both graded stakes winners at 2. Lakara has continued on to be a stakes winner at 3, along with Take Charge Milady and a couple of other stakes winners in here. So I think it's a very deep, a very interesting field. You did mention weather depending. As of this moment on Wednesday afternoon, Keeneland has not made any changes to its racing schedule, with expected torrential rains and a flood watch in the state of Kentucky. I would expect this race, if it goes this weekend, to be run on an off track.
Yeah, it does sound like it's certainly going to be rainy, and then it would take a lot of time to dry out the track there at Keeneland. So we'll jump in here to the Time Formulas pace projection. In terms of pace, it doesn't say a fast pace or anything like that, but it looks like a couple of horses could be forward, including the 5 running away, who I guess they named aptly because this is a filly that likes to go to the front. She's done that in all 4 of her starts. And then Look Forward was cross-entered in another spot, Nicole, but it looks like this one is actually going to ship and go to Kentucky and has showed a fair bit of speed.
Yeah, trainer Michael McCarthy said yesterday that the plan is to run Look Forward in the Ashland, and that certainly changes the pace scenario of this race.
You can see the LP flag is attached to the 6 in here, the filly that we've talked about, Take Charge Milady here for Kenny McPeak, who I don't know how deep of a closer she is. She can be a little bit more forward, as we saw 2 and 3 starts back, but I do think it depends on the pace that unfolds in front of her. We'll kick it off with the number 1 Look Forward, who you mentioned, Michael McCarthy, saying that they're going to ship. I wonder if the weather changes that at all now, but that is the plan as of now. And she was able to pick up a stakes win 2 starts back, and prior to that was a game second behind Tenma.
Yeah, her best effort, though, perhaps came in at 1 turn in the Santa Ynez. The Honeybee, I think she can get a pass for. Kind of got a poor start there and just was never really in her game. And the Honeybee, as we'll discuss, several are coming out of that race, and it's been a key race on this road to the Kentucky Oaks.
The 2 Lakara, we've talked a little bit about her in some of our Kentucky Oaks previews, and the fact in the points races that probably didn't need to win last time out, the Devona Dale off the Suncoast when she was second behind the Queen's MG. How do you assess her in here? She's going to go to Keeneland for the first time. When you compare her last race, I think the one thing that might work better for her is she's going to go 2 turns rather than the 1 turn last time at a Gulfstream.
Yeah, Lakara, perhaps not her best effort last time. She wasn't fully cranked, and that was because of the timing. Trainer Mark Cassey circled the Ashland a long time ago as her ideal final prep to give her good spacing into the Kentucky Oaks. Well, working backward from that, they needed good spacing from her Suncoast win into the Ashland, and their option was to cut back in the Devona Dale to a distance not at her best, a race she wasn't fully cranked for, finished second still to a very good filly. And I think they're getting everything they want coming into this race. And I do want to mention, she is by Street Sense, who historically has been a very good wet track sire.
Good to know. She's 9-2 also on the morning line, a little bit more value than she offered last time out. The 3 is Super Speed up next. We mentioned it. She tried the dirt for the first time last time out. We'll take a look at this replay. We know it's a short field. She had 3 other rivals in here, but in terms of the way that she throws down here with May Sam, I thought it was a pretty good performance. She really had to work for it. She actually ends up getting a career best figure, which I found very intriguing considering it was her first time on the dirt. And they still went modester, even a little bit on the faster side in terms of the half, the fractions there. And I think, when you consider all of that and trying something new, she has some upside.
Absolutely moved forward on the dirt. And She's from a versatile family. She's by Triple Crown winner Justify. Her broodmare sire is Triple Crown winner American Pharaoh. And both of those stallions have been very good on both dirt and turf for the Coolmore operation. So this filly being able to switch surfaces in good order, not really a surprise here.
The number 4, Mahima, she went off favored last time out in the Honeybee. Now, it was her first start as a 3-year-old filly, but wanted to get your thoughts, Nicole, on how she looked, because in my opinion, she ran fine, but I actually didn't really love the performance from her. She is a really big filly. I think it takes her a bit to get going, but she just was still beaten by 4.5 lengths behind Quiet Side and 5G, who I guess it flatters her. They both went on to win their next starts, but I would have liked to seen a little bit more from her. How about you?
Would have liked to have seen more, but I think she had some excuses here. I think they wanted to see if she would sit off horses a little bit after winning races as a 2-year-old on the front end. She did look to pull a little when trying to rate to me, and that was just kind of empty in the lane after that, drifting around a little bit. I expect that they'll let her roll and that she'll be a pace factor in the Ashland. And as you said, the Honeybee, several coming out of that race, and it's really been a key race as Quiet Side and 5G, the top two, both came back to win Grade 2 100-point Oaks Preps last weekend.
The 5 running away up next, this one trained by Wesley Ward. She got a taste of stakes competition in her dirt second start last time out, and she handled it well. She went to the lead. She drew clear in there. Not sure necessarily what was behind her, Nicole, and this is going to be a very big step up for her, but she seems to be working well locally, a track that she's very familiar with given her connections.
Yeah, and I think that's the main point with her is I'm not sure what she has beaten to date. Certainly took a step forward on the dirt, but this is going to be the litmus test for her.
The number 6, Take Charge Milady here for Kenny McPeak. Brian Hernandez Jr. set to climb aboard, I should say, for the first time. She was just entered down at Oaklawn Park. They decided to scratch her due to a minor issue to give her a little bit more time. They've regrouped with this spot, and she does have a very quick drill coming into this based on a March 30th workout, 47-4 over the mud, the fastest of 61 workers. And we talked about other horses, maybe the horse on the inside here, maybe being compromised from the start in the Honeybee. I just think her chances were taken away as well at the beginning. It's not her running style, Nicole.
Absolutely not. Got a tight start in the Honeybee. That put her farther back on a track that I do think was favoring speed a little bit that day. And then while trying to get something going, she had more traffic at the 3/8 pole. So just kind of draw a line through that. As you said, a minor foot issue forced her withdrawal from the Honeybee. Showed no ill effects bouncing out with the bullet work on Sunday. And she has won on a wet track prior. So I do think that's a major mark in her favor coming into the Ashland.
It's worth noting that in the Martha Washington, she did beat Quiet Side, who's gone on to win 2 races since then. The number 7, Amarth. We'll take a look at her most recent performance, which was sort of an upset performance in terms of where she ends up finishing. She ends up finishing second here at 23-1 behind Drexel Hill, who picked up a bunch of points by winning the Busher Invitational. And for this filly, it was her first start since just before Christmas of 2024. And I wonder, the moves might have been a little early, but I also think when you factor in who beat her, it was just a filly that was moving better in those final jumps, had a lot left in reserve. And I think Kendrick Harmouche did everything he could to win with this filly, and she was just second best.
Yeah, and I really thought Amarth was going to win that day. Kind of loomed up into the turn, had just a dogged horse inside of her, refusing to give away easily. Looked like Amarth was going to get by her, and then just was overhauled late. I thought it was a nice effort, and I think perhaps she's going to continue to relish a little bit of ground the way that she moves.
And it's worth noting that she did break her maiden at Keeneland, though. It was up to 7/8 distance. Rounding out the field is the number 8 admit here for Tom Drury Jr. and Claiborne Farm. She was third in the Bourbonnette Oaks, a pretty even performance. I do think the winner, Bless the Broken, had a little bit of a breakthrough performance for her and kind of what she was able to do there. But I think I would have expected in some ways to see a similar performance to the Cincinnati Trophy, where she was sort of looming large late. I just don't think the fractions really helped her.
No, and I think she might get a more honest pace here. Her race prior to the Bourbonnais Oaks, she made a good run late and just wasn't able to reel in a loose leader in White Rocks, who we've discussed extensively. Admit is wheeling back in 2 weeks here, moving from the Tapeta, where she had a productive campaign, to the dirt. She did show some promise on the dirt last year.
She certainly did in her second start. She faced Runnin and Guttin, who's trying to take on stakes competition in her most recent efforts. That's the field of 8 for Friday's race of the day, the Grade 1 Ashland. Don't forget, you can go onto the DRF website and get free past performances for this race of the day and each race of the day that we provide. It's time for our top picks here. And on paper, at least it looks like it might be Mahima's race to win at 9-5 on the morning line. Second start off the freshening, but we'll both use her underneath, and we'll go with the same horse here on top, the 6 Take Charge Milady for Kenny McPeak. And I'll be honest, I really wanted to see her in the fantasy, Nicole, and now that she comes back in a different spot but has that bullet drill, I just think she might get the right setup, and I'll take her here, especially if she's anywhere near 8-1.
I do think she'll get the right setup. I think there's a decent amount of speed in this race. I think she is well drawn to sit a little bit closer to them or a little bit farther back of them, depending on what Brian Hernandez wants to do. And I do like certainly that she's got the wet track experience, just again with the expected conditions that we will see in the coming week in Lexington.
We'll both use the 2 Lacara and the 4 Mahima underneath. Nicole's price in here is the 8. Admit here is going to get back on the dirt for the first time in a while, and I'll see if the 3 Super Speed can take a step forward in that second dirt start of her career. At 6-2-4-8 for Nicole, 6-4-2-3 for me. It's the Grade 1 Ashland this Friday at Keeneland. Good luck.